Hi Facebook, this is Roman. I wanted to do another update of what's happening in France in the Universe movement. I am in America right now, in Oregon, next to Portland, and I'm in a beautiful spiritual community here, and I wanted to share with you also some exciting news in regards to some very interesting technologies. I will do that at the end of the video. So to start with, so what's happening in France right now is that France has just celebrated the 14th of July, which is when the French Revolution happened in 1789, which is an anniversary because we're in 2019, so it's like the 130 years, like 230 years anniversary, is it? Yeah, 140 years, 240 years anniversary. So yeah, hello again, sorry guys. Yeah, Macron has, and the whole army has been completely hooed by the people. It's like, woo! Yeah, it's a total shame. Like, even the commentators online, yeah, had to acknowledge it. There has been a lady today has been shot in the face again, lost an eye. Another one, I don't even know how many people are now damaged and injured. I think we are reaching probably more than 40 people, 45 people has been injured, or lost an eye, sorry, 45 people have lost an eye. We probably reach more than 4,000 or 5,000 people injured by the police, and still not a word in the media again. What else is happening in France? Nothing much, unfortunately. The people in power are definitely proving the failure of the democratic system. When people are upset, they can only protest, and if the people in power refuse to listen to them, well, too bad. There's no other possibility, and that's why the referendum initiated by the citizen is definitely the solution to get a real democracy with us. For those who doesn't really understand what the RIC is about, referendum initiated by the citizen, I will send you back to my previous videos, but roughly it's the idea that people should be able to trigger a national referendum from their own initiatives instead of waiting to be consulted by the people in power. So the idea is that we need to be able to trigger national referendum when we want and not when they decide to ask our opinion. Hi Loretta, good to hear you. And yeah, and that's a very simple idea, can actually change the whole world. Like when the people will realize that democracy isn't electing our masters, democracy is when our voice matters. The world will actually change pretty quickly. So yeah, unfortunately there's not much more news going on in France. It's, I think, now the 35 week that it's happening, so we are getting close to 10 months worth of protests, so 9 months and a half protests. And the government hasn't absolutely changed anything. The government is still sending out the country to the interest of bankers and international bank and Europe against people's will. And yeah, the people are still more and more motivated to go up to the end, because they understand that this is their future and the future of the children that is in cause. And that if some people are not ready to sacrifice themselves, nothing will ever change. And this is something that is very challenging, because like there's no more men anymore, there's no more people capable of sacrificing their life for greater good. So we actually see a lot of women pushing, which is amazing. It's really amazing to see how the sacred feminine is raising and inspiring more and more people to stand and to do what is right. And in regards to that, I wanted to say a word about the Jeffrey Epstein thing that is happening in America, and how I was very surprised a few days ago to see that I posted a video of 60 Minutes, which is an Australian show that dare to speak about pedophile survivors' experience, and I was very surprised to see that that post had been shared by 4,500 people so far in only a few days, and it's very shocking because I've been aware of that sex trafficking pedophile ring for years already, and I try to alert my brothers and sisters, the international community, about what's going on, but most of the people were too afraid of facing the truth, and it's a very, very challenging truth, and it's, in my experience, the darkest one. Like, there's nothing darker than seeing the utilization of life of the most innocent of us for whatever reason, for whatever goods that some people decide on earth to do. And I feel like sex trafficking, organ trafficking on babies is just the most horrific things that I ever came across, and it's the most challenging things. And it took a lot of courage and strength to be able to face that truth, which is luckily not, how can I say, it's not everyone's truth, but I mean, we all been aware that there was a lot of pedophile stories along those years, and there's always a pattern. There's always like an embarrassment from the media who kind of try to avoid having to talk about this, which is very challenging. Like, why the media doesn't want to speak and doesn't want to cover something that is so horrific, that is so important, and that's a big red flag on who actually dare to say the truth and who refuse to share the truth. And when you're starting to get and put your nose into it, it's so challenging. You cannot believe that you are living in the same reality as some people, and that some innocent being can actually be exposed to such a level of horror, because there's absolutely no other words. And when you find out that the perpetrators of those horror are actually a lot of people in power, because we like to believe that it's just anonymous people, like it's just like a random people, sick people. But when you're starting to realize that it's actually the people in power who are practicing this, and they're not practicing this just for a few years, it's actually something that was there for a very, very, very long time. Like, it's a big, big awakening. It's a big, big awakening. And suddenly it's starting to make sense why we are living in such a mad world. How the people in charge, who are basically worshipping lies, basically, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about people who do not value truth. And because they do not value truth, lying to people is natural. It's not a problem. And that's something that most of the people do not understand, because most of the people value truth. Even if the truth can be colored by different perspectives and they can have different type of beliefs, well, truth is truth, and truth has value. We are facing people who do not value truth. They have absolutely no value for truth. So therefore they can say whatever they feel you want to hear, and that's going to be okay, because most of the people do not feel truth anymore. They think truth. And the more you actually trying to align yourself with natural laws, the more you are starting to realize that truth is not something that has to be logical. Logic is something that can be easily manipulated, very, very easily manipulated. It's something that can easily brings you into no-go zone, because that's the nature of the mind. The mind is polarized between good and bad, between truth and false and all that. And until you're starting to realize that truth is something that needs to be experienced. It's something that needs to be felt in your heart, in your body, in your cells. Like, you can call that instinct, you can call that intuition, you can call that love or feeling of truth or resonance or whatever words you want to use. It's something that go way beyond logic, way beyond logic. And the best example is like, okay, if you ever experiment love in your life, no matter if it's the love of an animal, of a plant, of a friend, of a parent, or of a partner, husband, wife, children, what is the logic in love? What is the logic in feeling that connection? There's none. There's none. And it's only by getting blind to that reality, blind to that perspective, that every single thing in our experience needs to be logic and coherent, that we are basically lying to ourselves. And this is actually what helps the psychopaths, because there's no other word, the psychopaths in power, because power absolutely corrupts individuals. There's no doubt about it. Like, when you get access to infinite amount of power, you get access to infinite amount of madness. So power absolutely corrupts. So therefore, when I'm saying that those people are psychopaths, it's just a fact. Like, we haven't been designed to believe that we can represent billions of people. This is not possible. Like, we are just one life, one individuals. We only have so many years to get access to so much understanding of this is what this is all about, what reality is all about. And let's be honest with ourselves, no one can claim to know it all, to get it all, because this is not true. This is just simply not true. So when some people claim to be able to speak on the behalf of millions of people, already we have a problem. We already have a problem, because we have already seeds of people who basically lost it. They already believe that they are much, much more important than what they actually are. And that's why it's always so important to remember that even the queen has to sit on a bum to poo. And that's a fact. Like, the homeless and the queen both have to sit down on a bum to poo. And no matter who you think you are, you're just a bloody being. That's it. You're limited in your perspective. You only know what you know, and you are not more or less important than anything else. I'm just going to check a little bit. There's a few comments. Please get the seal of the living God and medal by Mary of Divine Mercy. I will protect you from evil. You can buy them online. Yeah, well, okay. Sorry, Donna, but there's no troll here. I think we're born for attachment. We are attached to each other, the world, and the universe. Non-attachment equal death. Yeah, it's a complicated one. It's a very complicated one, because the Buddha actually was saying that non-attachment is the key to happiness. So that's a tough one. So we are born and die dependent. Yes, we are dependent to the human nature and to the nature of that reality, which is difficult. Are you there? What's happening? Facebook. Are you still there? Are you still hearing me properly? Here we go. Keep freezing. Okay, I'm just going to try to get closer to the Wi-Fi. Anyway, so yeah, that was a big introduction to because I had a few people recently, not a few, like one or two, just starting to question, why do I share more information than just what's happening with the yellow vest? And first of all, I do what I want. That's my stuff. So if I decide to share things that I feel are relevant, I will do it. And if people don't like that, well, I'm not forcing anyone to listen to me. So that's very simple. But the second aspect is that I spent many years trying to deprogram myself around that idea that truth is something coherent and logical. So I accept every form of truth. I embrace every form of truth. When someone is coming and telling me that they believe that vaccines is good for their babies, I'm like, well, I acknowledge your truth. I used to believe the same truth, then I challenge my perspective. I understand the thing differently, and now I have a totally different perspective on that, because I did the work of challenging my belief system in a deep way. So therefore now I have a whole different understanding of it. But I still acknowledge that you understand the world this way, and I respect it. But when someone's starting to tell me, well, you shouldn't share that video and that post, like, I mean, like, who are you to tell me what should I do and should I not do? I mean, I acknowledge your truth and I respect it. But when that person's starting to say, well, if you are sharing things that I feel are irrelevant with the referendum initiated by the citizen, then I'm going to leave your page. My answer is, be my guest. Please leave that page. If you really believe that because you're going to threaten me to leave that page, I'm going suddenly to be like, no, please stay, because you know what? I want to please you. I don't want to please anyone. I'm here to share my truth. It's not coming from a space of arrogance, believing that I know everything about everything. I'm happy to acknowledge anyone's truth, but if someone is starting to threaten me that there's going to be consequences if I'm starting to speak my truth, then we're not going to be friends. That's very simple. So I already made a video in Italy when I was in a spiritual community called Damanhur, and it was a beautiful experience. Now I am in another spiritual community in Oregon, Portland, next to Portland. And I wanted just to share with you a little bit of what I saw here, which is pretty amazing. Before that, I just also wanted to say a big thank you to the whole community for having shared that post about pedophilia. 4,500 people sharing that post. I was completely amazed. Like, to be honest, I never saw anything that I posted being shared so much on such a delicate topic. So I wanted just to share a big thumbs up, a big thank you, because it's a very, 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 very challenging topic. It's a very difficult subject to treat, and I believe that until we're going to go deep into the darkness of those who are telling us what we think, how we think, what we should think and what we should do, until we're going to challenge that, until we're going to challenge every type of information that is coming from the mainstream media, until we're going to start to tap into that sovereign knowledge that we all have inside of us, the world will not move forward. So I was very, very, very impressed to see that people are starting to stand for what they feel is right, no matter the consequences, because I know, I've been there, I know how difficult and challenging it can be, especially in families and network, to dare to post something that goes outside of our comfortable zone. It is very, very challenging, and trust me, I've been through a lot of chaos, and I have to lose myself, a lot of my own personal friends and family, because that truth was too much for them to stand. So the path to truth, I believe, is a very lonely path, and it's a path of reconnection with yourself, like what really matters to you, what really resonates with you. And it's not an easy one. It's not something that can be easily shared, because everyone have different perspectives on things. And when you realize that you're living in such a sick world, you have to understand why. Why is it that sick? Like, what makes it that sick? And it's only by realizing that we are governed by sick people that you understand that the only solution that we have is to stand for what we feel is true. And that's what the main message of the Yellow Vest. The Yellow Vest movement is about standing for what is true, fighting for what is true, and not just following what the people in power wants you to think, so believe you should think. All right, so now I would like to move a little bit away and introduce you to some beautiful people that I met here. So I don't know if all of you are familiar with the plasma technology. I know some people will say that, oh, it has nothing to do with the referendum initiated by the citizen, but yes, it has a lot to do with it, because plasma technology is, I believe, the medicine of the future. So I'm going to introduce you to my friend Jono and Margaret that I met in this beautiful community, and we're going to share a little bit of experience about what's happening. So let me introduce you to Jono and Margaret.
Hi everybody, glad to be here. Glad to be on your show here and to show you what we're doing. We just got to get the big dog out of the way. So here we go.
Hi everybody. Oops, I gotta take my clothes off.
So I'm not really used to interview people, so we'll see how it's gonna go.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
Totally organic.
guys, if you have any questions, so those people right now, can you tell us what you're doing?
So what we did is we came here to the ranch to help. I'm gonna turn this a little bit. There we go. We came to the ranch to help James introduce plasma technology, which is based on Kesh, Dr. Kesh's teachings. And we weren't quite sure how we were going to do it. He wanted to get into some of the free energy and the power kind of stuff, but we wanted to try to find something that was going to have a big impact and that was easy to do and we could get to it right away. And we stumbled upon these concept of putting the plasma in a ring. So that's kind of where we went with it, and some of the results have been pretty astounding. So
can you share with us a little bit what plasma is and what are the effects on the human body and on plants, and then we can have a look on an example.
Plasma, according to Dr. Kesh, is any entity or being or object that has magnetic and gravitational field. So it has an energy field around it. When you think of the planet and the magnetosphere, that's so the planet is a plasma, as an entity, and so that's what he calls a plasma. And these magnetic and gravitational fields that are emanating from this material is what we interact with everywhere we go. So we create. I'm not sure if people are familiar with Ormus. They probably are. No,
not yet.
Basically, most plasmas that emit a magnetic and gravitational field are in a monatomic state, which means that they each individual atom is emitting a magnetic and taking in a gravitational force similar to a magnet. And that's kind of what we've put in the rings. We've created a number of different types of monatomic substances. And these rings then, in their natural shape, are creating a torus field of energy that's rotating around. And we bring our body into it. You could put it around a tree, which we'll show you later. You can put it around your pets. And it generates that field. It interacts with your field and starts to balance out your energy.
So Margaret, what's your emotional experience with this?
And don't forget that you put a little bit of the gold and the silver in there to connect with the spiritual self.
Right, so not just what our body needs, but also our spirit too. So we've added some monatomic substances that help with that.
My emotional experience of what? Of GANs?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, it takes you out of your head.
So what is this stick?
Okay. What is this? Well, first let me just tell you about these. These take you out of your head so that you aren't having that hamster wheel going that's telling you all the reasons why you're not feeling good and naming all the reasons why you're not feeling good. It takes that out of the equation so that your being can just balance the way it's naturally supposed to do. And these are, can you see these? Are health pens.
Why don't you try the other one? Show the other one, the one that I put right there.
This one?
Yeah, just because then you can see it a bit better.
You think? Okay, these are health pens.
We'll go zoom right up in there.
Okay.
Yeah, the camera's here.
He's very bossy. And there is a coil in here that starts out, it starts out looking like this. Just a copper wire. And then we twist them using sacred geometry or the 369. So these add up to 9.
Yeah, it's 9.
Okay, and then we nano coat them, which is happening in the tree back here. You can see later. So now they're dark. They have got the nano coating on them. And this is a directional energy, so it shoots out this end of the pen.
So can you show them what you did with your finger yesterday?
Yeah. I pinched my finger when I was making the coils, and I got a big blood blister like a long one. So I immediately went upstairs and got some CUO GANs and some CO2 GANs, and I put my finger in it.
So the word GANs mean gas to a nanostate.
But it wasn't GANs, it was GANs water. So it was the water that floats above the GANs. So I put that in a little cup and I soaked my finger in it, and then I used this pen. And the way I use the pen, because it's a directional energy going this way, I imagine that the energy, there's pain and discomfort is always over energy, so I imagine the energy is gathering there, and because of the direction, it pulls out. Yeah, it pulls it right to you. and so it pulls out and shoots at this end, and just is transmuted back into love, and then I turn around and send in the healing, loving light. And so this blood blister kind of just dissipated pretty quick, and it doesn't even hurt anymore.
So you don't feel the pain anymore.
I don't feel any pain.
So I experimented something similar a few years ago because I used to work with this technology, but my last experience was in December last year. I felt in the stairs of my parents, and it was really painful. I fell on my hip, and I had to have like a massive bruise. And luckily, I had some of this technology next to me, and I just put it quickly on my hip, and in about a minute or two, the pain started to disappear, and I kept it for a few days, and the bruise disappeared also very quickly. So it's obviously accelerating the healing process of the body, and I think this is information that people need to know.
And the key is that it's a very high vibration, intelligent energy, so it knows what to do to help balance.
Yeah, we can think of ourselves as diseases when we either have a lacking energy or we have an overabundance energy. What the plasma technology is doing is it wants to bring us into balance, but it's doing it from an energetic perspective as opposed to a physical perspective. So it gets at the root of the issue and heals it instantly from the root, and then that propagates out to our physical reality over time, sometimes very quickly. So rather than putting a Band-Aid on it or putting a splint around your knee because your knee is sore and trying to contain it physically, we're actually addressing the issue from an energetic perspective. And that's why it's so effective.
And so how about the lady, there was an older woman who broke her shoulder in this area, and Jonah made her like a kind of type of a bracelet.
So I gave her a necklace, one of our necklaces, and she slipped it. They got it up over her arm, so it was just sitting on her shoulder, and from her elbow to here was all black, right? And she couldn't move her arms, in a lot of pain. Within a couple days, all the black had turned to yellow, so the bruising was really healed, and the pain went away within about an hour. There was no pain, and she went to see her doctor, and her doctor basically didn't understand how her body healed. She was in her 90s. It should have taken weeks for her shoulder to heal, and it was healing within days.
He said she was 30% more healed for the timeline than she should have been. So,
yeah, it's pretty wild. So this technology can be used anywhere. It can be used on pets, ourselves, and on plants, as Roman was saying earlier, and we've got some examples here that we could take a look at.
Just a quick one. So there's someone asking, is this work is close to Dan Winter work? Yes, in a way, because Dan Winter is working in negentropic magnetic field, toroidal field, and this substance is producing a chemical version of it. So some people call it the key energy, the natural laws, the 0 point energy. Well, it's a form of, let's call it a form of chemical plasma state.
Yeah, so the molecules that are in here are actually in a 0 point state, emitting pure magnetic and gravitational fields in a torus field shape. And we assist it by putting it in a circle. And that circle has this rotating torus field of energy, and that's what allows us to interact with it.
So someone asked, where do we get this ring? So we're going to design a website in the next few days. So probably next week the website will be online. And if you guys want to are interested into that, so how much costs a big ring like this, for example?
These rings are $25.
So $25.
And the health pen is $45.
$45.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bracelets
and the small one, how much costs
These are the small ones. We have ones for bracelets, and we usually sell anything that's kind of bracelet or an anklet, or even for a pet, for around $12.
$12.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not
And
a big investment.
The
but,
beauty is with 0-point energy in all applications it doesn't run out. You make it once, and if you use it properly, it will supply you that energy indefinitely.
And key is that it needs to be cleared just like a crystal does. So you would put it on something
No,
like...
here's selenite. I brought that
you
up.
would put it, yeah. You put it on something like a selenite. This is a big one. You don't have to get a huge one, but you could just lay it on selenite, or you could put it in a plate of sand. You could just make a plate of sea salt. I'm sorry, I always say sand.
I don't know why I
sea
say
salt. I always say
sea
that.
salt. Yeah.
And just lay it in there, and it'll clear the energy out of it.
Yeah,
Or put it on
otherwise
the
you can just put it
ground.
on the floor of water,
Right.
or
Hang
under
it in
the
a
sun,
tree,
or
yeah.
on a tree. Like
Yeah.
you can clean it sometimes if you feel
Just
something, but
however you would clear a
yeah,
crystal.
but it works otherwise.
Basically, what's happening is there's an exchange of energy between the necklace or the ring and whatever's in its environment. So, in other words, would be me. So it is removing unwanted energy that I don't need and feeding me carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen at the same time, which is 93% of what we are. So in essence, I'm feeding my body what it needs, and it's drawing away energy that I don't need.
So another thing that I wanted to add is that so I used to use this technology a while ago, but as I used a lot of many different technologies, I haven't been drawn too much in this one, but surprisingly, so I haven't used it for many months, and then I came to that ranch, and I've been through a little bit of a personal challenge recently, some emotional challenge, and this lady just put that necklace around my head, and instantly I could feel that pressure that I had on my heart, which was really painful to deal with, just dissolved in about 30 seconds. So that's my own personal experience. But outside of my experience, what I would like to show you guys is also what this technology do with plants. So can we do a tour?
Let's go start with the little pear tree.
Take your phone, like show it.
Yeah. We'll go here first. Do you want to go here? We'll go here first.
I'll just let you guys do that.
All right, so now we are looking at that tree, which obviously wasn't really healthy. So how was this tree until you starting to work with it?
So there was very few, there was actually very little growth on it, very little, wasn't much here at all. It's really brittle and dry. I mean, I could snap this in really easily. So what I did is I put a ring around the tree because I'd seen this, somebody did this on the internet, and somebody else was doing that. So that's what I did, and within 2 hours it bloomed. Okay,
just 2 hours.
2 hours it bloomed. The deer unfortunately have gotten to most of them, but there were 50 pears growing on this tree.
Wow! So this was a dying tree,
and it still has new growth.
And it still have new growth. And when did you put that ring?
That was about 2 months ago.
About 2 months.
Yeah, but it had came to life very, very quickly.
Beautiful.
So that's one example. And then over here, we'll go this side too. So what we did here in this little garden here, there were some rhododendron shrubs that literally had no leaves. So that's what it used to look like. Pretty much devoid of any type of leaf.
Yeah.
And
this was how long ago?
This was about 24th, about a month, a little over a month ago.
About a month ago. And now, since you put that ring,
it's got leaves everywhere.
So we can start to see leaves everywhere, and we can see that all the plants around are quite happy as well.
Yeah, and what I was planning on doing was wanted to have all, like basically that rhododendron, and then come on over here. These three here, this one, and that one over there had no leaves as well, and as you can see, they're full of leaves.
Wow.
Okay, and amazing growth. And I was kind of disappointed because I wanted a control, so you could see the difference between them, but it didn't happen. But then I noticed this one over here, so why don't we walk around? So looking at this one, I thought, oh my God, this is really odd because there's almost like a line here. we got leaves on this side, and I got pretty much no leaves on this side.
So this one used to be like this entirely.
Yeah, they all were like
and
that.
And it grew leaves only on that side, which is the one closer to the
coil.
To the coil over there, as if there was like a field that was going up to here and literally stopping there on that line.
So it shows you how far the field
It's quite remarkable. Like it's pretty obvious. Here we can obviously see a line that reached the other one there. Like those plants here looks okay, but those ones here have like that vibrant green energy. Like it's,
everything inside. So it probably has. That's about 10 feet, 12, maybe 12 feet, about 25-foot diameter. That's how big the field is that's coming off that circle. So anything within that field is being energized with this plasma ring.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what about that tree? Yeah.
So then over here, we had another tree. This is an apple tree, and it hadn't produced any fruit in several years. So again, I put a ring on it about 2 months ago, and within a day, it had bloomed. And this side doesn't have as many apples, but over here on this side,
that's because the deer are eating them. The apples are.
There are apples everywhere, like just everywhere. Right, so we got apples here, just full of apples when it wasn't producing any apples at all.
So for 2 years it didn't produce anything, and suddenly in a few weeks that tree is starting to produce. That's quite remarkable.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing actually, to be honest. Oh, and here might as well throw in here. So we had mentioned nano coating, which is to basically make the copper to be monoatomic and emit a magnetic and gravitational field. And Margaret's just going to show you how she does it. Might as well get a new one on here.
Get a new one on.
Okay, so this is just pure copper.
Pure copper that we twisted into this shape so that it creates a directional energy for the pens.
Okay, so this is before and this is after, and this is the process that you're using. Okay, so I don't know if you can see, guys, but the copper is slowly becoming black. Here we go. So the copper used to be orange, and now it turned into black.
And you have to do it several times. With several layers.
Yeah, so Peter, what is the rig made of? It's a kind of chemical reaction induced by this nano coating experience. So they have to nano coat, which is altering the molecular structure of copper, and then they put it into a solution and produce that ring that you have on.
Yeah. So so there's 6 different types of monoatomic material here. Let me just pull this out.
So you can see that there's different colors.
There's different colors for different ones. Inside this ring here, I have 6 different types of monoatomic substances, all emitting that magnetic and gravitational field. And each one is interacting with my body to help remove the emotions and the excess energy that I carry so that I could raise my vibration. And that's, and yes, right now it's suspended in water. It's similar to sand. So when you're on a beach and you, right near the shore, and you stir up the sand, it never turns to mud. It just sort of floats in the water. Well, that's kind of what the monoatomic substances do in here, is float within the water. Water can be structured. We all know that. So water actually takes the vibrational energy of the monoatomic substances and sends it all the way around, creating that uniform torus field of energy. And right now, this is the personal one that we wear all the time. I mean, you can use it. There's several ways you can use these, but we also created another, actually a health bed version of what this looks like, if you want to go take a look at that.
Okay, let's have a quick look, yeah.
Yeah.
Any question, guys? Is it clear? Like, well, it cannot really be clear because it's a new form of technology, but I think you got the idea. Okay, so tell us what this is.
So in here, I've replicated the same idea. I have these rings. Okay, what we discovered is that even if the rings are separated, as long as they're brought back together, close together, they still form that rotating torus field of energy. And we've created 13 rings to go with 13 chakras. They each have a different percentage of the monatomic. And basically, we open this puppy up, and you lie down, and we close it back up, and now you're literally lying in a massive field of free energy. Really, ultimately, at the end of the day, we're pulling in the vibrational energy of all of those monatomic elements that help to heal and balance our body and raise our vibration at the same time.
Yeah, so is that tube filled with a substance? Yes, it's filled with this...
with the monatomic.
The monoatomic substance, yes. Yes, yeah. So that white substance that...
most of it's at the bottom. Most of it settles at the bottom, but because there's water in here, the water allows the energy to go all the way around the tubes, creating that circle, and you're inside this torus field of energy. It's the experiences that we've had in here with people have been amazing.
So what is this? What is this ring here?
So this here is a tensor ring. I don't know if anybody's heard of Slim Sperling, but this is another way of creating what's called a 0 point energy. So this attracts and pulls away any vibrational energy that is not ideal for the person or whatever's placed in it. So we use this here to, as these are pulling off the energy from people, this will ground it. So this is almost like a grounding rod, and that's what we're using to clear our beds. And so we have one on each one.
On each side, okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone has any questions? So yeah, ancient wisdom, new tech, yes. New technology, and the more we're going to move into that sovereign revolution, the more people are going to realize that we don't have to use chemicals or like drugs or pharmaceutical product to get access to health. We don't need to follow like the advice of whatever World Health Organization to get access to health. There are many, many, many different ways to get access to health, and obviously if the plant are liking it, maybe it's something that has that universal wisdom that we are lacking today. Would you like to share something?
Well, the one thing we have to remember is we've spent decades trying to heal ourselves and heal the environment using physical 3D solutions.
Logical, yeah.
Yeah, right? Where, you break a leg, you put a splint on it. Well, if you break a leg, maybe if we address the energetic energy of it, then we're going to heal it faster, and we're going to heal it from a lower level. When I mean lower, I mean it's actually higher. We're getting closer to source. We're getting closer to the real source of where we come from and the energy that makes us. So if we're fixing that, then obviously our physical manifestation will heal accordingly. And that's what we're trying to do here, is to teach and show people that we can address our issues from that energetic perspective as opposed to the physical perspective.
All right, guys, if there's no more questions, the ancient way are the best, the way our ancestors, nature, the answer to every problem. Yes. So
well, here, I'll give you one last thing about that last comment there about ancient wisdom, is we had our big conference here last weekend, and a gentleman came up to me with this, looked like ash in a jar, and it was an ancient Vedic recipe for making this substance that they would rub on their hands and then sprinkle out onto under the earth. I did a test for it, and it's monoatomic, which means 5,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, the ancients were making this stuff. Even if they didn't understand what they were making it, they knew how to make it. So this isn't even new technology. This is old technology. And we just got to start making it and start utilizing it ourselves.
Yes.
And it's all about empowerment.
So guys, bear with us. Just keep having a look on that on the page, and we will. So for those who are not on Facebook, it's RIC Referendum initiated by the citizen Roman Light on Facebook, and I will just update it you guys when the website will be on, and so you can purchase it and test it for yourself and share it with your friends, because again, the truth can only be shared and felt. So no matter what I say, it's always going to be my truth or your truth, but until you test it and validate it, it's not going to exist. So do your part of the thing, be skeptical, be a healthy skeptics, which means not just pushing away things that you don't understand, but just experiment it. And if it works, never be afraid of sharing your truth. All right, guys, thank you very much for being here. It was just an update from Portland, Oregon. And if you haven't listened to the beginning of the video, it will be on Facebook and on YouTube very soon. Take care of all of you guys, and just stay awesome.